Welcome to Win the Day from Back to the Bible. I'm your coach, Pastor Nat, and today we will talk about the faithfulness of Jesus. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. How true is that for our most intimate and special relationships? When I travel, I hate being away from my wife and kids. But when I get home, it is so wonderful for the reunion. The first thing I want to do is hug my kids and kiss my wife. Before Jesus' ascension, the disciples experienced seasons of togetherness with Jesus, but also times of absence. Those times of absence caused the disciples to grow disheartened and troubled. So how would they respond to Jesus' return to them? Let's go back to the Bible for the answer in John chapter 21, beginning in verse 7. That disciple whom Jesus loved therefore said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he was stripped for work, and threw himself into the sea. The other disciples came into the boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far from the land, but about 100 yards off. When they got out on land, they saw a charcoal fire in place, with fish laid out on it and bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish that you have just caught." So Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net ashore, full of large fish, 153 of them. And although there were so many, the net was not torn. I love this part of the story. Peter and the disciples have been questioning what they're doing. Peter is tired of waiting on Jesus, so he declares, "I am going back to fishing." The disciples follow their leader, but they find out it's meaningless. It's meaningless to try life without Jesus. So Jesus appears and tells them to try again. What happens? They catch a ton of fish. How many fish? John tells us they caught 153 fish. If you've ever wondered if John recorded what occurred, here is the proof. But what I want to look at is the response of Peter to knowing it was Jesus. John says that the disciple whom Jesus loved therefore said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he was stripped for work, and threw himself into the sea. Why would we expect anything less from Peter? The disciple whom Jesus loved was John, the author of this very gospel. He knows it's Jesus. So what does he do? He tells Peter. And Peter here is fishing in his undies and throws on his cloak and jumps into the water. If you have ever seen Michael Phelps swim, Peter may have been able to beat him in a race. Peter is so responsive. Well, the disciples, they finish pulling in that 153 fish and they head to shore for breakfast. Fish and toast. I'll be honest, that's not my preference, but to eat with Jesus, I would take whatever was present. Well, Peter and the disciples experienced something remarkable. With Jesus, there is great power and joy. When Peter and the disciples decided to quit waiting on Jesus, they experienced challenges and disappointment. But with Jesus, nothing was impossible. When we trust Jesus, God will do extraordinary things in us and through us. We see that in this story. But also, even when we are unfaithful, Jesus remains faithful to his children. We see that with Jesus and the disciples here. So where are you in the story? Are you remaining dependent upon Jesus? Are you following his instructions? Or are you like Peter, who is taking matters into your own hands? Just because Jesus remains faithful to us even when we falter, does not give us permission to sin. Instead, it should propel us to trust God and rely on the Spirit to do great things. So if you've gone off on your own, jump in the water and swim to Jesus as fast as you can. When you're with Jesus, that is the only way to win the day.